Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be going into everything there is to know about TOMMEN BARATHEON, but before I begin, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, let's jump straight into it. Prince TOMMEN BARATHEON, the youngest son of King Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei Lannister, accompanies his father's royal entourage on their journey to Winterfell following the death of Lord Jon Arryn, the former Hand of the King. While at Winterfell, Tommen engages in a sparring match with Bran Stark, using wooden swords as part of his early training in combat. Upon returning to King's Landing, Tommen and his sister, Princess Myrcella, fail to recognize a disheveled Arya Stark as she is seen chasing cats through the city streets. In her frantic attempt to evade the Lannister guards, Arya inadvertently knocks Tommen over while making her escape. As the new Hand of the King, Lord Eddard Stark uncovers a devastating truth. Tommen, Joffrey, and Myrcella are not the true-born children of Robert Baratheon. Instead, they're the illegitimate offspring of Cersei Lannister and her brother, Jaime Lannister. This revelation shakes the very foundation of the realm and sparks a deadly power struggle for the Iron Throne. With Robert critically wounded after being gored by a boar, Lord Renly Baratheon proposes a bold plan, seizing Tommen and Myrcella to strengthen his claim, while suggesting a marriage between Tommen and Arya Stark as a means of solidifying alliances. Eddard Stark, however, refuses to act against the children, choosing instead to uphold his honor, a decision that ultimately seals his fate. Following Robert's death, Tommen's older brother, Prince Joffrey Baratheon, ascends the Iron Throne as the new king. Tommen is present in the Red Keep's throne room when Eddard Stark is arrested for treason, marking the beginning of a turbulent, blood-soaked chapter in Westerosi history. Though young and largely unaware of the political machinations surrounding him, Tommen is a pawn in a deadly Game of Thrones, a boy born into a world of power struggles, deception, and war. Tommen Baratheon, the youngest son of King Robert Baratheon and Queen Cersei Lannister, was a gentle soul caught in the ruthless politics of the Seven Kingdoms. Despite his upbringing in a family ruled by power and cruelty, Tommen displayed a natural kindness and innocence that set him apart from his older brother, Joffrey. At Joffrey's name day tournament, Tommen watched with admiration as his uncle Tyrion arrived and reassured him that one day he would grow as big as Sandor Clegane, but much better looking. However, the festivities quickly took a darker turn when Joffrey ordered Sir Dontos Hollard to be drowned in wine after arriving drunk. Tommen, visibly uneasy, felt relieved when Sansa Stark intervened and convinced Joffrey to spare Dontos' life. Later at the family dinner with his sister Myrcella, their mother Cersei, and Sansa, Tommen asked a question that revealed his innocent heart. He wondered whether Robb Stark would be killed after the war. Unlike Joffrey, who relished in cruelty, Tommen admitted that he would not like such an outcome, showing his distaste for needless violence. The strongest bond Tommen shared was with his sister Myrcella, and when she was sent away to Dorne as part of a political marriage pact with House Martell, he was heartbroken. As she departed from the harbor, Tommen openly wept, devastated by the loss of one of his few family members who truly cared for him. His sorrow was met with scorn by Joffrey, who mocked his tears, but Sansa came to his defense. The same day, as tensions in King's Landing grew, Tyrion Lannister recognized the growing unrest of the small folk and took precautionary measures, sending Tommen away on a separate route back to the Red Keep. This decision proved wise, as a riot soon erupted in the streets, nearly costing Joffrey his life. During the Battle of the Blackwater, as Stannis Baratheon's fleet attacked King's Landing, Tommen was kept safe in Maegor's Holdfast under Cersei's watchful eye. As the night dragged on and defeat seemed inevitable, Cersei, drinking heavily, sought to soothe Tommen with a tale about the supremacy of lions over other beasts. Stags, wolves, and dragons may be dangerous, but lions ruled them all. Tommen, ever innocent, pointed out that stags only eat grass and are not truly menacing, highlighting his lack of malice. As the battle outside raged, Cersei prepared for the worst. Grandmaster Pycelle had given her a vial of Essence of Nightshade, a deadly poison. Rather than allow her son to fall into enemy hands and face torture, she resolved to grant him a quick and painless death. Just as she was about to administer the poison, the throne room doors burst open. Tywin Lannister had arrived, victorious. The city had been saved, and Tommen's life unknowingly had been spared in the final moments. Though he was a prince of the realm, Tommen was more of an observer than a participant in the brutal Game of Thrones. His compassion made him a rarity in the world of power-hungry rulers, and though he survived the chaos of the war for now, darker days were yet to come. Tommen Baratheon is present throughout his brother's wedding festivities, including the pre-wedding reception, the ceremony with Margaery Tyrell, and the extravagant feast that follows. Initially amused by Joffrey's cool dwarf reenactment of the War of the Five Kings, Tommen's expression quickly shifts to discomfort when he sees his uncle Tyrion's reaction. The mood darkens when Joffrey suddenly begins choking and convulsing from poison. Tommen watches in horror until his grandfather Tywin Lannister shields his eyes from witnessing the gruesome end of his brother's life. With Joffrey dead, Tommen becomes the new king of the Seven Kingdoms. Mourning his brother, Tommen stands vigil with his mother Cersei over Joffrey's body in the Great Sept of Baelor. Tywin, seizing the opportunity to shape the young king, enters and questions Tommen about the qualities of a good ruler. Tommen suggests holiness, justice, and strength, but Tywin counters each answer with historical examples of kings who embodied those traits yet failed as rulers. With some guidance, Tommen correctly deduces that wisdom is the most important quality a king can possess. Pleased, Tywin escorts Tommen out of the Sept, beginning his education on ruling, including the expectations of marriage and producing heirs. Jaime Lannister, encountering them as they leave, checks on Tommen and promises to protect him from suffering the same fate as Joffrey. Meanwhile, Cersei grows increasingly protective, demanding that Tommen be heavily guarded at all times. He is moved into Joffrey's old chambers, but the presence of his late brother's hunting trophies unsettles him, making it difficult to sleep. One night, Margaery Tyrell secretly visits Tommen in his chambers, an unusual act for a noble woman before marriage. Tommen is initially nervous, but relaxes when his cat, Sir Pounce, jumps onto his bed, and Margaery playfully interacts with him. As they talk, Tommen confides in her about Joffrey's cruelty, including threats against his beloved pet. The two form a bond, with Tommen expressing his desire for Margaery to visit him again. Before leaving, she kisses him on the forehead, further cementing her influence over the young king. Tommen is officially crowned in a grand ceremony in the throne room, where he takes his place on the Iron Throne with ease, prompting Margaery to observe that he looks as if he was born for it. Cersei and Tywin, moving swiftly to consolidate power, set Tommen's wedding to Margaery to take place immediately after the mourning period for Joffrey ends. Following Tywin's guidance, Tommen rescues himself from presiding over Tyrion's trial for Joffrey's murder, leaving the responsibility to his grandfather. With his reign just beginning, Tommen stands as a stark contrast to his predecessor, gentler, more impressionable, and easily guided by those around him. At his grandfather's wake, Tommen shares a brief but intimate moment with Margaery, an exchange quietly observed by Cersei. Under the guise of Tommen's authority, Cersei calls a small council meeting, announcing that Tommen has chosen to delay appointing a new Hand of the King. She also assigns Mace Tyrell as both Master of Coin and Master of Ships, promotes Kyber into Master of Whisperers, and offers Kevan Lannister the position of Master of War. However, Kevan refuses to serve unless Tommen personally requests it. Tommen and Margaery marry in a grand ceremony and quickly consummate their union. During their time together, Margaery subtly suggests that Cersei remains only involved in Tommen's life. The next morning, while walking with his mother, Tommen proposes that she returns to Castle Rock, believing it would make her happier. Cersei instantly realizes Margaery's influence over him. When she later confronts Margaery, the young queen boasts about Tommen's sexual enthusiasm, further escalating tensions between them. Their relationship deteriorates when Margaery's brother Loras Tyrell is arrested by the Faith Militant for his homosexuality. Margaery, furious, accuses Cersei of orchestrating his arrest to weaken her position. Tommen demands Loras's release, but Cersei deflects responsibility, blaming the High Sparrow. When Tommen personally attempts to negotiate at the Sept of Baelor, the Faith Militant blocks his entry. Though his Kingsguard offers to fight through, Tommen hesitates, unwilling to spill blood, and is publicly humiliated by the crowd. Later, he sorrowfully tells Margaery that he failed. During Loras's tribunal, Olivara testifies against him, leading to his imprisonment. Margaery, accused of lying under oath, is also arrested. As she is dragged away, she begs Tommen to help, but in shock he remains passive, signaling his Kingsguard not to intervene. Distraught, Tommen contemplates attacking the Sept, but Cersei convinces him that such action would put Margaery's life at risk. When Cersei herself is later arrested by the Sparrows, Tommen falls into despair, locking himself away and refusing to eat. After his mother's humiliating walk of atonement, Tommen grows even more distant from her, consumed by his own helplessness. Following the death of his sister Marcella, King Tommen fears for his mother's safety, ordering Cersei to remain within the Red Keep to prevent her from being arrested again. This decision, meant to protect her, enrages Cersei, and when Jaime confronts Tommen, the young king admits he initially blamed his mother for Prince Tristane's murder. However, he has since forgiven her, despite knowing she rearmed the Faith Militant. Jaime chastises him for allowing the Faith to regain power and for barring Cersei from attending Marcella's funeral. At Jaime's urging, Tommen apologizes to Cersei, tearfully admitting that he feels weak and incapable of standing up for those he loves. He regrets his failure to rescue his queen Margaery from the Faith Militant and to defend Loras Tyrell. Cersei readily forgives him, promising to help him gain strength and authority he desires. Tommen later seeks an audience with the High Sparrow to request permission for Cersei to visit Myrcella's crypt. The Sparrow denies the request, citing unproven accusations of regicide and incest. Tommen protests that his mother has already atoned for the falsehood and fornication, but the Sparrow remains firm, praising Tommen's love for his mother as a virtue granted by the Seven. The High Sparrow urges Tommen to seek wisdom from the gods, subtly drawing the young king further under his influence. Grand Maester Pycelle advises Tommen to cooperate with the Faith, but his mother soon interrupts their meeting. She warns Tommen that the High Sparrow holds no respect for the monarchy, using his love for Margaery to convince him that the Faith is manipulating him. Tommen then shares a secret with the Sparrow that entrusted to him. Margaery is to undergo a walk of atonement. Tommen is allowed to visit Margaery in her cell, where she speaks reverently to the High Sparrow and claims to have repented for her sins. Her words influence Tommen, leading him to embrace the Faith of the Seven. His conversion becomes public when Jaime leads Tyrell forces to the Great Sept in an attempt to free Margaery. However, Tommen emerges alongside the High Sparrow, announcing to the crowd that Margaery has already brought another into the Faith, himself. He declares a sacred alliance between the Crown and the Faith, raising Margaery's hand as a symbol of unity. To solidify his new allegiance, Tommen strips Jaime of his position as Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, citing his attack on both the Faith and the Crown. He then sends Jaime to lead a Lannister army against the Tullys at River Run. Determined to sever any remaining influence of the old monarchy, Tommen publicly declares that the Crown and the Faith are the pillars of the realm. As part of this declaration, he abolishes trial by combat, calling it barbaric, and allowed the corrupt to escape justice. This decision seals Cersei's fate, as she had intended to use Sir Gregor Clegane as her champion in her upcoming trial. Instead, she and Loras Tyrell are sentenced to stand trial before the Septons. On the day of the trials, Tommen prepares to leave for the Great Sept, but is stopped by Sir Gregor, who silently prevents him from leaving his chambers, presumably under Cersei's orders. Helpless, Tommen watches as the Sept is engulfed in flames, obliterating everyone inside, including Margaery, Loras, and their father Mace Tyrell, along with countless innocent civilians. As the Sept burns, Tommen remains at his window, staring in silent shock. His grief and disillusionment take hold. His wife is dead, the Faith had placed his trust in and is shattered, and he realizes his mother orchestrated the massacre. With a quiet resolve, he removes his crown, steps onto the ledge, and without hesitation, he walks out of the window. Tommen Baratheon was defined by his innocence, a stark contrast to his cruel and sadistic older brother Joffrey. While Joffrey was arrogant and tyrannical, Tommen was gentle, kind, and compassionate, almost to a fault. His meek nature was evident from a young age, as he endured relentless torment from Joffrey without standing up for himself. His emotional depth was also clear when he wept openly about the departure of his sister Myrcella to Dorne, showing his deep attachment to his loved ones. Unlike his brother, Tommen harbored no malice, even expressing that he did not wish for Robb Stark to be killed, despite the ongoing war between the Starks and the Lannisters. Unfortunately, Tommen's kindness made him highly susceptible to manipulation. Unlike Joffrey, who was strong-willed and difficult to control, Tommen was easily swayed by figures of authority, particularly his grandfather Tywin and the High Sparrow. Tywin at least acknowledged that Tommen had the potential to be a better ruler than Joffrey, and in any moments of guidance, Tommen displayed intelligence and capacity for learning. However, this intelligence did not extend to recognizing when he was being controlled. Tommen's empathy was profound, as seen in his deep concern for Margaery during the consummation of their marriage. Despite the widespread rumors of his illegitimacy as the product of Cersei and Jaime's incestuous relationship, he remained devoted to his mother. However, he also developed an emotional independence, especially in his love for Margaery. His attachment to her was so intense that in a rare display of anger, he confronted the High Sparrow to demand her release. In the end, Tommen's love and trust were his undoing. When he witnessed the destruction of the Great Sept of Baelor, realizing that his mother was responsible for the deaths of Margaery, her family, and thousands of innocent people, he was left utterly shattered. Feeling as though he had lost everything, Tommen silently removed his crown and took his own life, plunging from his window in a quiet act of despair. So what did you guys think of Tommen Baratheon? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Sith Citadel Discord, links in the description, and consider becoming a join member or sending a super thanks if you wish to further support the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.